Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Hello, happy Tuesday, and welcome to another episode of Delve Requisite. I am here with the newly minted crew of the Grimm's Folly. So it's Pirate Week. We had a week of non D&D last week, as had a bit of a last minute cancellation from one of our players. Had something come up and couldn't make it, so we did some games, some other stuff. But we are here this week with D&D again. Before we get started into tonight's episode, I of course want to take a moment to give a shout out to Proficiency Bonus's sponsors, Little Dragon Corp and Cardboard Castle. At any point during tonight's stream, you can type !Little Dragon into chat or !CGC into chat and get a link to either of those websites. I encourage you to check them out. Little Dragon Corp sells fine RPG dice. I know a bunch of people on the channel are currently using dice from them. And everybody's been very happy with their purchase. There you go. There's an example. There's cardboard, or there's a Little Dragon dice right now. If you check them out and find something you like on their website, you can use our code PROBONUS for 10% off of your order. There's some more dice from Little Dragon. So thank you, Little Dragon, for sponsoring Proficiency Bonus. And of course, Cardboard Castle is a brick and mortar. There's an invisible dice being held up by one of our players right now.
It's a new exclusive. Castle. They sent it only to me.
That's right. It always rolls 20s. It seems
it only rolls 20s, and I use it only exclusively.
Anyway, Cardboard Castle is a brick and mortar tabletop game store located here in the United States in Georgia. They are supporters of the channel, always giving us stuff to give away during our special streams. So we thank them for their support, and we encourage you to check them out as well. And see if they have any tabletop RPG stuff that you might be interested in. The light is at the end of the tunnel. Pretty soon you might actually be able to see people in real life again. Fingers crossed. So now's the time to start stocking up on your tabletop RPG stuff for when we can all stop being locked in these isolation boxes that we've been living in for the last year.
Joke's on you, I'm never coming out.
Thank you to Little Dragon Corp. Thank you to Cardboard Castle. I encourage you, of course, to follow us here on Twitch if you have not done so already. Subscribe. Check us out on YouTube. Check us out on various social medias. Hit all of those various like and subscribe buttons so that you can stay up to date with all of the content that Proficiency Bonus is. Smash that like button is what I'm seeing. I'm seeing a smash the like button gesture. Smash that like button if you have not done so already, and keep up to date with everything that we're doing. We're putting on a lot of cool content. We have a lot of new cool stuff that we are sort of working on right now, so it should be a very very cool 2021. Anyway, that's enough housekeeping business to get us going here. Quick recap of where we stand right now. As of last session, the group had taken part in a kind of a stealth operation in which they sabotaged and destroyed an Ignean Imperial Navy battle group that had been gathering to come and assault the island of Glazow, the pirate haven. They successfully destroyed all but one of the Ignean ships, which is the vessel that they themselves captured and have rechristened the Grimm's Folly. Unfortunately, in their endeavor, the first mate of the Shrike, Edward Poole, who had accompanied them on their mission, was killed in the fighting. They have reconvened with the other pirate captains who have reached this island at this point, and now where we return, the pirates and our newly minted crew are kind of making their plan for what their next move is. So I will kind of set you guys up here. You're on board your own vessel. You're on board the Grimm's Folly at the moment. Thorn has returned to the Shrike, but you guys are kind of in the same, still in the same vicinity, sort of anchored near to each other. Shortly on the tail of Thorn and the Shrike arriving, Captain Frederick and the Jewel and Sea Dog Barton in the Gilia, along with the Arrowhead, captained by Captain Vita, all kind of arrive as well, and everybody sort of pulls into formation around each other to communicate. And a little bit after that, the Spinning Leaf, captained by Dash Through Rain, who had dropped you off, sailed out, kind of looped back around another small island, and has returned here. So currently all all 6 now of the pirate ships are sort of loosely gathered together, to discuss the plan moving forward, before you guys begin to kind of depart. So as we begin here, basically Thorn calls across to you guys aboard the deck of the Grimm's Folly, and he says, if it would be agreeable to you, based on the condition of your newly acquired vessel, it seems pertinent that you return with all haste to Glasgow to make repairs. He nods his head towards the other ships. He says, the lot of us can handle the salvaging efforts here before we make our way back as well. Either nobody is talking or I can't hear anything anymore.
I was muted and my mouse wasn't working, so I couldn't unmute.
Okay. I was like, oh no, the audio
I just thought
troubles.
Kristy's audio wasn't coming through for me, so...
Yeah, that's probably the best course of action at the moment. Unless you guys want to stay and help with the salvage.
But we do want those sails.
Thorn says, I can see to it that you'll receive your fair share, and if you kind of tell him about the sale, he says, we'll see those gathered up and brought to you. They're yours by rights.
Good. Very good. Okay.
Then let's make our way back to Glasgow.
He sort of turns over to the others. The other pirate captains, and he says, oh, my camera's freaking out. He says, if I leave it to you to get underway, can you make do getting started? He says, before these folks head off back towards Glasgow, I've asked that they stay as we conduct some business laying our man to rest. And there's sort of a murmur of assent from the other captains who say, yeah, we'll get on with it, and catch up later. And he says, very good. He calls out towards Hooper, towards Sea Dog Barton aboard the Gilia, and he says, Barton, according to the Grimm's Folly here, there's quite a number of men and women still left on those shores, currently marooned, as it were. But I imagine the Imperial Navy's gonna come looking for him after a time. I trust you can keep Captain Vita in line. And Vita juts her chin out, and she says, and what is that supposed to mean? And he says, it means you like to do your talking with your axe, you maniac. Your ships are sunk. We've made our point. Enough men and women have died today, by my estimation. Wouldn't you agree, lads? And the other captains sort of, nod along. Even Vita, who seems sort of like haughty over the whole thing, doesn't dissent. And Captain Frederick from over on the Joule speaks up, and he says, "We will try to parley with them. If some of them wish to join the crews of our ships, we will make the offer, as we always do. And the rest of them can be left to their own devices if they agree not to make trouble. As I do not think there will be a problem. They are Imperial navies, they have honor." And Thorn kind of scoffs. "Honor, such as it might be." And Frederick responds, "Honor such as any of ours might be, Thorn. Such as any of ours might be." The general consensus has come to that the other ships will begin salvaging what they can from the ships that you guys sank and wrecked, with as much time as they think they have before they need to make an egress, before any other Imperial ships come to kind of check out the area, and that they will make attempts to parley with those who have been left on the beach, and as is sort of standard tradition, the offer stands like, take up your sword and come be a pirate if you wish to join our crews. Otherwise, take your chances on this island until somebody comes to rescue you. Seems to be the deal that they are going to offer them. After some discussion, the other vessels begin to move back towards the small island and get underway with this task, as Thorn invites you guys to join him over on the Shrike as they prepare to have a small service for Pool.
Before we go to the Shrike, Rowan, who has been standing near the front where we lashed the guy that shot Pool, is going to lean out and just stab him in the neck with her longsword real quick, just to make sure he's still dead before we go.
You stab him. He does appear to be
officially dead?
Dead for good this time.
Cool. Just checking. And then go over.
Sure. So you guys head over to the deck of the Shrike, where they've brought Pool across from your ship. They've been very delicate with him as not to disturb the sort of shroud of vegetation and flowers that Scylla had prepared for him. But as the crew sort of is going about their business, most of them have already started to gather, but Thorn raises his voice to call the attention of sort of the rest of the vessel, and he says, "Lads and lasses, gather round, that we might pay our final respects to Master Edward Poole." And several sailors bring Poole's effects up from below. They bring his sword, his coat, his hat, and they bring his hammock. And they lay the hammock out on the deck, and several of them very gently lift Poole's body, careful not to disturb that intricate weaving of flowers that Scylla had gifted him with, and they lift him and place him onto his hammock. They fold his coat, and they place it along with his sword and his hat carefully in sort of a bundle atop his chest. They fold his hands. A cannonball is brought up, and it's placed at his feet. And then everyone save for Mosamba backs away. And you see that Mosamba begins to work with a bone needle and line, and he begins to stitch Pool's hammock up around his body. And as he does this, Thorn continues, and he says, I'd like to speak to you about Master Pool. About the lad I met years ago. About the fine sailor and crewmate that he was aboard this ship. And about the things that he believed in. And he looks around and he says, Today, me hearties, is not the day for stoicism. This is not the day that we harden our hearts, thrust out our chins and quench our emotions. Do not turn away and hide your face, but instead weep freely and without shame. Let your brothers and sisters see, by the wetness of your eyes and the salt drying upon your cheeks, that we are the same and connected one and all. Edward Poole was a good man. A man who came to know this crew when he were hardly more than a lad seeking to make his fortune in the world, without having to sell his freedom, beg and borrow scraps from those in power to do it. Each and every man aboard this vessel has a story about Edward. He loved this ship. And he loved those aboard it like they were his own flesh and blood. You were a man who'd give the shirt off his back for you. You actually did that once, calls one of the sailors, and there's a smattering of sort of chuckles. Thorn smiles. You were a good soul. A good friend, and a steady presence here. I loved him like he were the son I never had, and I'll miss him dearly. So today I will mourn. I will mourn for 1,000 sunrises that my friend will never see. 1,000 songs that he'll never sing. I will mourn for a life cut short that he'll not live. But let it be clear as spring water to everyone gathered here. Edward Poole died a hero, and he died for what he believed in. Freedom. That every man, woman and child deserves to hold their own fate in their hands and make of their life what they choose. Mr. Poole knew what we all know. That we choose this life each day, knowing the price that may be asked of us. And when those who would sweep in like the tide and subjugate them without power, and crush them who would try to resist, he did not shrink away. He stood tall, and this day he helped to hold back those rising waters. Edward Poole died a free man, and he died so that others might have that same gift. So, weep without shame, should the tears come to your eyes. But so too do I say to you, laugh without reservation, drink, be merry, live. That is what Edward gave his life to preserve. Breathe the air of free men and women, feel the sun shine down upon your neck, and listen to the wind in the sails. It is in this way that you honor him. May his spirit sail the seas forever. To freedom, and to Edward Poole. And with that, he steps back and he bows his head as Masamba has stitched up all but Poole's face. And Tea Kettle comes forward, and she leans down and sort of presses the tip of her beak to his forehead for a moment. before she takes a few coins and tucks them into the sort of the hammock cocoon that is being made for him. And you see that one by one, the crew begin to move forward, and they each begin to place, for most of them it's just a copper piece or two, they begin to place a few coins into the hammock as well, splitting one last share with their fallen comrade. And once everyone has had a chance to come forward and kind of pay their last respects, Samba finishes.
Could I
Somebody
go
say
up? Yeah, could
absolutely.
I go up? Do I have coins?
Yeah, you guys have at least some money.
We all
that
have
you can
some.
go for.
All right, I would like, just out of respect to following their tradition, I would put in a coin as well. But then I would stand and I would bow very deeply and stand back up in silence and clap twice, and then she stands there in like a silent farewell for about 30 seconds before she repeats the motion and claps twice and walks back.
Okay. Anyone else before I move forward, or are you guys good?
Rowan will go up and put a coin in and just look down at him and whisper, "I'm sorry, I wasn't good enough to save you, but I promise I'll keep Tea Kettle safe." And then just kind of close her eyes and pray to Helm for a moment, and then back up and purposely stand kind of like behind Nymue and Scylla, because even though he said cry in front of everybody, Rowan doesn't cry in front of people, and she's hiding.
Okay.
I think Scylla already did what would be appropriate, and
course, yeah.
and so she's just gonna stand there.
Okay. Then, with everyone's final respects paid, Samba stitches the hammock the rest of the way up, and several crew members lift up this sort of shroud that they've created. One of them holding the sort of the cannonball there at the foot of this. Several of them supporting the body. They bring it over to the side of the ship, and they kind of just lower it and let it drop to the water. And the weight of the cannonball and the coin in there sort of brings all of this down, and you see for a few moments it kind of grows a little murkier until the dark water sort of swallows it up, and that's that. The crew sort of stands by the side of the ship for a few moments, even after the hammock containing pool is out of sight. And then they turn and begin to go back to their business. And Thorn comes over to you. He says, "I appreciate you staying for that. I'm going to have a number of the lads transfer over to the Grimm's Folly with you. Help you man it to get back safely to Glasgow. We'll pick them back up when we make our return trip there as well." This is... Trust that we'll handle things here. We'll be back in time. Get your ship repaired, and I suppose start thinking about what's next for you. So he will, see you guys back to your own vessel. about 10 individuals from the Shrike, just chosen in no particular fashion, come over with you as well, so that like the 5 of you don't have to try and sail this entire ship back. Tea Kettle does come over with you guys as well. She was not like of the people that Thorn had like picked out, but as she like moves over, like you kind of see him notice, but he doesn't raise any question about that. He just takes note of this and continues on his business. So once all of that is complete, you guys are ready to get underway.
Matt,
yeah,
has everybody left? Has everybody left that scene? I think when everybody walked away, Thyxes would stop and turn around and go back to where they lowered Pool into the water.
Okay.
Assured that no one else is around, like everyone else kind of cleared out from the whole ceremony.
Sure. I mean, you're on the deck of the ship, so like there are still people around, but
well,
he kind of wait till it seems like nobody's looking.
He look left, look right, and then he'd reach into his coin pouch and he'd pull out a coin. And he'd look again, and then he would just toss it down into the water.
Okay.
And awkwardly stand there for a moment, not quite knowing what to do. He saw people speaking words. He saw people clapping, bowing. Listen, Poe, I don't really know what to do here. But thanks. And just slowly, like, kind of stare at the water for a little bit. And then once everybody, I felt, was, like, headed back to the ship, turn around and just catch up with the group.
Okay. Then with all of that sort of completed, the Shrike lets out some sail and unmoors themselves from the Grimm's Folly and begins to head off in the direction the other ships had gone to take part in the salvaging what they can from the sunken vessels and dealing with all of this. And you guys are able to begin sailing back towards Glasgow. I am gonna give you guys a little bit of a jump in time here, and just sort of narrate the next little bit for you, as basically what we'll sort of like fast travel over here is your trip back to Glasgow, which does go uneventfully. It only takes a few days of sailing, and then you will basically have some time in the port town as the ship is under repair. Before I advance too far into it, you do have the opportunity. You do have several days of sailing before you return to Glasgow. So if there's anything that anybody wants to do now, or anything between you guys that you would be doing during those days, now's the time. You can kind of let me know if you want to do anything there, or just let me know you're good. We'll continue
on. I think Nymue would want to kind of gather the group just to figure out what our next steps are after we get in Glasgow. She wants to know where everybody's sitting before she brings something up.
I mean, we can probably go to the captain's office thing. I don't know.
Captain's cabin.
Captain's cabin.
Yeah.
I don't know, your area.
Captain's cabin meeting.
Your area.
Captain's cabin
The captain's quarters.
Captain's
Yeah,
quarters.
you definitely have captain's quarters. You also have an officer's, room that you guys can meet in and stuff. That's behind doors and not near the any of the other crew that would be on board.
can meet up in there.
All right.
Yeah, sounds good.
Yeah. So, does everybody plan on... I mean, we're free now, we're not prisoners, and we're not really stuck out on the ocean anymore. Do you have things you need to do?
Captain, I do have a worry.
What's your worry?
Well, now we're currently possessing this Ignean Empire naval vessel. Are they going to be after us?
I mean, probably.
Okay, well, I'll be honest. I don't know a whole lot about the Ignean Navy, but it sounds big.
Yeah, probably.
Wow, the Ignean Navy sounds big. Understatement
It does.
of the millennium.
It really does. It does, Captain. I'm just stating the obvious here. I mean, so what's the plan, Captain? What are we gonna do?
Well, we are a pirate ship, Thyxes, so I think
Right.
the best plan of action would be if we come up on any naval ships, we sink them, and we take their shit.
Straightforward. That's what I like about you, Captain. Okay, that answers my question.
As for me, yes, there are things that I want to do, but I have what would be several lifetimes for you in which I can do it. And it is not urgent. And I became a pirate so that I could better do those things. So, I have nothing pressing.
What
Nice,
about you,
nice
Rowan?
humble brag.
I live a long time, and I am not as old as you.
Also, now I'm old.
We are both old compared to some of the rest here. We are both most likely in... We are both in triple digits. We are both in triple digits, but I think you are a bit more advanced in your extended years than I am, Captain, with all due respect.
What about you, Rowan?
Now I'm just imagining Thyxes in the diaper, and I'm disturbed.
Please.
Let's move on. Rowan, for the
you
love of
did
God.
that. You did that to yourself.
It's me. I did to myself, and I put it in my mind, so I had to ruin it for everybody else. You had to share in my pain.
How do you mean?
Honestly, Captain, it cannot be any worse than these pants, to be honest, Captain. I tell you, why would they sell these to me in Glasgow? I have no idea.
You know why, Thyxes?
Why,
Because you're
Captain?
stupid, and then they like taking advantage of stupid people.
Actually, I will argue that I am very intelligent, Captain. It's just, I've never been out here on the open ocean before. I've never been a pirate before.
Hard argument to make when I can hear you coming a mile away.
That is not true. And Thyxes starts walking away.
Thyxes, come back!
You could probably cook a chicken between his legs.
Okay. Rowan, I'm sorry the boys keep interrupting you. Do you want to tell me what your plans are?
Right now, to get Thyxes new pants. Because I'm done.
Maybe like sticks of paper, like a dagger on the wall with like a paper on the wall, like to-do list. Number 1, new pants for Thyxes.
You know, the stiffness of the leather on those pants is probably what kept his legs from breaking as he was launched by that rope on the sails. He had a very nice vertical landing, and that when you are getting flung like that is quite rare. He's lucky he did not break something.
That's true.
Too bad he didn't have parachute
Scylla
pants.
Now that...
Wow.
Get out!
I love that you couldn't say it with a straight face.
Gotta
Gotta commit.
feel like we need to have like a like the doomsday clock, except instead of counting down to like nuclear launch, it counts down to like how many puns Murderbeard can make before the crew like
The ship
mutinies.
explodes.
Like, you don't get to
Before
be
we
captain
snap
anymore.
And reach our limit and just kick his ass.
all over again.
Rowan, with all due respect, I know that my pants seem to be an issue, but now that Scylla said that, that is a very good point.
I'm
I
glad
think-
your legs did not break.
I think I will keep the pants.
We'll work on making them less noisy, maybe, and we'll go from there. But I'm really glad your
Crosses
legs
that
did
off
not
the list. Invest in earplugs. Then silence pants spell? Question mark.
Rowan, aside from the pants situation, of which we are all very concerned, back to Nymue's question. Your purpose, your plans.
Purpose. That's an interesting choice of words, Scylla. I know we all don't know everything about each other yet, and I'm not gonna be the first one to share if I'm honest, but to put it simply, my purpose got ruined a long time ago, and I don't know where I fit. There's something I want to do, but right before I got grabbed by those slavers, I wasn't getting anywhere with that plan. There was no clues, there's nothing I could do. I have one hint, and that's not enough right now. So I think right now, I made a promise to Pool that I'll keep an eye on Tea Kettle. And if Tea Kettle's gonna stay with us, then I'm gonna stay on the ship. My issues will surely come back around because we all know how things work. But for right now, getting better at what we do, figuring out how to be a pirate, considering where I grew up, is very different, and trying to make sure we don't lose anybody else. I have a timetable. I mean, I'm the most mortal one here, but at the end of the day, the person I'm after will get what's coming to him too, and I have to hope that the gods will see fit to take care of it that way, for now.
And you, Captain, aside from your concern with the pants, what is your answer to Nymue's question?
Oh, everyone froze.
Oh,
Hello?
hello?
Here.
Might just
You
be
hear
for
us?
you. I see everybody moving still.
Okay,
Yeah,
now
this
you're
just
back.
happens to
Everything
her.
just froze.
Alright.
Sorry.
My answer is very similar to Lady Rowan there. I got a lot of irons and a lot of fires, but nothing is necessarily a time-pressing matter. Best way to keep on what I need to do is essentially doing what we're doing here. And also the pants thing!
Like this? Do you have anything other than your immediate pants situation that's happening that we need to be aware
This is
about?
starting to sound like Thyxes has pooped himself. Your immediate pants situation.
And whose fault is that? Whose fault is that?
I'll admit, the situation was rather scary, but I promise I did not mess the pants. I paid quality coin for these pants in Glass House. I would never. Anyway, I mean, kind of same as what everyone else said. Nothing very pressing. I mean, I'm curious about a lot of things, but I don't have any specific targets, if that's what you're asking. My specific target, I guess, in this whole thing was just making sure that we didn't get bombarded by the Ignean Empire shortly after commandeering one of their vessels.
It'll be fine.
Captain seems like we're fine, so I'm fine. I
Don't worry
trust the
about it.
captain.
Out of sight, out of mind.
I'll turn to Nymue. What about you? We know that you got some news a while back about some things going on, and if I'm being honest, given this conversation, it seems like that's a bit more urgent than what the rest of us have going on.
I'm going to pull out the letter and place it on the captain's desk and unfurl it.
This is new information to us?
Yes, I believe so. She had mentioned
I
that.
know metagame. I know what it is. I don't
Yeah.
know
No.
if
You
we
mentioned
know
it.
what is.
You kind of gave us like a brief thing that there was something going on.
There was something going. Yeah, but I couldn't.
Tavern,
Like, there was too much going
tell.
on. She couldn't. Yeah.
But that's why Rowan's asking. But the actual context.
Yeah, she's actually
is
showing
new.
it.
That's why Rowan wanted to ask about it, because it's like, you said something was up, but we don't know what kind of thing.
Yeah. So she lets everybody read the letter.
Do you need the letter recited to you?
Yes, please, as a refresher, if you don't mind.
Yeah. So, Nymue brings out this letter and either reads it to you or lets you read it. But it reads, to whomsoever bears this letter. Your line of business makes you uniquely positioned to acquire assets that I am interested in the acquisition of. Should you, in your travels, come into possession of a native of the island nation of Naporia, ideally a Velmadel warrior, or a lunar warrior in the common tongue, you will be well compensated for their delivery. Bring them to the slave markets in Umyath Durai. Find the dealer marked by the token included with this letter, and they will know what to do. Signed, Pendragon.
And to make things worse, the reason I left Naporia is because my twin brother left before me, and we don't know where he went. And they don't know I went after him. They told me not to, but I went anyway. Because he's my other half, and if anyone's going to find him, it's me. And now I get see this letter on the slaver ship that we were all on. I feel sick. But I don't know where to start. I am not a pirate, I am a warrior.
Oh, sounds to me like we should find this Pendragon fellow, ask him some questions, and then fire a cannonball up his arse. I would say maybe the best bet to start looking is supposedly this location where our former slaver was intended to bring said cargo. Go from there.
But there's no token.
Nymue, is it this letter that you have? Are you 100% like it doesn't say too many specifics? Does it mean is this your brother, or is this referring to possibly you?
Or could be
more.
We don't know how
I
long
think
this
it just means her race in general.
It's
Generic.
generic. Yeah, it's generic
Okay.
enough to.
So it's not one in specific. It's just
No, it could
just
be
get
many,
as many as
but
you can.
don't know.
Yeah.
The reason I left was for my brother, but now it seems it's bigger than him.
Yeah, I mean, there's no guarantee this is a lead to your brother, but at the very matter, it is still an important issue.
Start. And
Does anybody know anything about? Captain, would you know anything about this location?
You guys would probably all know this location as I'm zooming out on screen here. It's not actually labeled on this map, as this is the map of the Iolquis Archipelago, but You can see here at the top left of the map here is is a chunk of the Ignean Empire there. Sort of the southeastern kind of tip of what is displayed on screen there is the location of Umyath Dorai, which is one of the Ignean Empire's like major cities. It's not their capital, but it is like their largest. It's like their largest port city. It sits in this huge gulf here between the Empire and Honorand.
So basically, we would have to sail by it to get to the location that this is leading us to.
If your intention is to go to these slave markets that are mentioned here, you have to go to that city.
So we have to take an Ignean Empire stolen ship back, or to have that back.
This is so bad. Never mind, I take it back.
No, we're going regardless.
The more we talk about this, the worse it gets.
I think, and I look at Murderbeard and I'm trying to cheer myself up a little when I say, maybe we can just paint it.
I mean, we could do more than paint it.
They're pretty stupid, right? They won't notice.
We can.
Did
You'd be surprised how well we could make this look like a different ship.
Wait, when you heard that your brother was gone, you left right away?
I left the following morning.
So you did not investigate much?
I checked his room. The problem... The problem with him leaving is it's not unusual for certain peoples of our tribes to get pulls or feelings to follow. It happened before with my mentor, and now him. I'm trying to follow just based off instincts and that natural spiritual pull. But if he got the pull, he could be anywhere. He might not even have found his way into slavers. He could be somewhere else entirely, but it is some sort of lead that I could at least investigate, because if it's not him, it could be anyone else that had left.
So then instead of throwing ourselves into the maw of the great beast that is the Ignean Empire, why don't we try to target their slaver ships, or perhaps return to your home and do an investigation that perhaps you were too hasty to carry out yourself in your concern for him.
They do need to be warned at the very least. They're not going to be happy, though. With me, I mean.
I mean, with all due respect, they can deal with it. People are getting kidnapped.
Yeah. It's just going to be a lot of I told you so.
I mean...
Also, I'll slap anyone that tries to upset my teammate. I'll slap anyone.
Very bad idea. Please, no. That is such a bad idea. Do not.
When you say we have...
I'll pee in their shoes. I don't care.
Okay.
Pranks are
You
good.
do that to my brother. Don't do that to my dad. That's...
We instantly get kicked out after introductions.
I don't know what happened. I peed in their shoes and then
What were you saying, Rowan?
I was just thinking that in a not so nice but who cares kind of way, the I told you so's that you're anticipating, would that be because you were grabbed, or because they're just gonna tell you anyway? Because we don't have to tell them how we all met. I'm just saying. Just be like, oh, we're friends now, and just gloss over it because there's more important things to go on, rather than just telling them everything. My parents don't know crap, and it's better that way. They think I'm off doing something that I'm currently not, but that's fine. That ignorance is bliss. So your parents don't need to know what happened. They need to know what's going on and the danger that's coming for all of you. That's what matters now. They can hold their tongues after that.
Right.
And
Only the weak and cowardly
like
waste time with words. If they truly care about their people, they will do what they need to do to protect it and not waste time talking.
That would be ideal. But that's where I'm standing currently. We definitely need to get the ship disguised in some way before we go anywhere.
fixed, new battering ram, disguised.
Perhaps remove the
True.
corpse of an Ignean spellcaster from the prow.
I kind of like it, but sure, we can take it
It's
down.
gonna get really nasty soon if it hasn't already.
It'll feed the gulls for a while, though.
Well.
People from the Ignean Empire don't taste good. I don't think the gulls enjoy it that much.
Wait.
What?
Wait.
Why are you all looking at me like that?
All of our heads just snapped.
There'd be like a fork on the table, and Murderbeard will slowly move it over.
Okay. So.
Oh, we know who's not gonna be the ship's cook.
Oh no, not again!
Note to self: always check cargo for suspicious meats.
Oh man, I don't know if you got what screens you guys do or don't have pulled up, but I have like the overlay of like everybody's cameras. And as she said that, like simultaneously, all four.
Everybody
of you were
went. We all totally went. What now?
I mean, you all have seen her grow out her teeth and intentionally like bite people's necks out and be like, yeah, I'm into this, so...
Yes, but out of context, when you're not all savagey and eating people and talking to us calmly, it sounds much worse. Hannibal, Jesus.
I like lean to Nymue and I'm like, I want to hope that it was when she was a wolf, but I don't think it was when she was a wolf.
Turn to you and say, it wasn't when I was a wolf, because I hear everything!
Oh! And it just goes, oh!
Rowan stands in front of Thyxes just in case.
What about Dwarf? Never mind, I don't want to know.
Very tough, usually.
They're asking for it. Alright. Well, that's where I stand. I guess we'll deal with it after we deal with the ship, yeah? Figure that out after.
Alright. So with a little bit of an idea of what your next move might be, you guys are able to, without really any incident, sail the Grimm's Folly back to the island of Glazow, where...
You said that would take a couple days, right? So we've gotten rest and...
Yeah, oh yeah, you fully rested, everything like that. You're able to sail back to Glazow, no issue. Where you are met almost immediately upon arrival by Gareth Blackwell. Basically, he's like, you guys. There is some like signaling, some like flag raising, and some like spyglass communication between you and the shore. That takes place as you guys do sail like a full-ass Ignean warship at this island. once they manage to, once you manage to convey to them, like, hey, it's us, like, they pretty much know you're coming, and Blackwell is there on the dock to meet you when you guys arrive. And as you make dock and you prepare to disembark and moor the ship, Blackwell, from down on the deck, he kind of calls up and he says, "What news then? I take it if you've returned bearing a Ignian vessel, we are not expecting an invading fleet to come and blow us all to the nine hells."
Nope.
You're a concise man, Captain Murderbeard.
You're gonna have a little bit of trouble doing that from the bottom of the sea.
He says, "And the others, Thorn?"
Going up to mop up what's left of them. And get some booty.
He kind of nods.
That's a pirate word. Don't look at me like that.
He looks over your ship. He says, "It would seem that your vessel is in need of some repairs. I believe in light of the service that you've rendered the island of Glasgow, and in anticipation of the plethora of supplies and wealth that we are expecting to bring in from the salvage efforts of the other ships, as you say, that we can make arrangements to have your vessel refitted and made seaworthy again, at no cost to yourselves."
We're
Cool.
expecting a special set of sails from the salvage efforts of the other captains. Something to keep in mind while you plan out your work.
Also, we were hoping to maybe disguise the ship a little bit so it doesn't obviously look like an Ignian ship that we just stole.
Where are we at here? He says, "Of course, I can arrange all that. I will speak to Marda Vance, our harbor master here, to arrange things with our shipwright." He says, "There is, of course, only so much that we can do to disguise the fact that this vessel is of Ignian design to those with a trained eye for ships, but I'm sure that the men and women here can see you set right, at least, so that you don't have to go sailing about these waters waving a flag that announces that your vessel is a stolen warship of the Empire."
Thank
Cool.
you.
Second. Martyr Vance is the harbor master in ship right here. He says, "Indeed, I shall send Vance along to make arrangements and begin repairs on your ship promptly." He says, "Glasgow is, as always, open to you all, at your discretion while you stay here." And he excuses himself after that and goes off to take care of other business of keeping the port town functioning. So basically, after sort of a brief interlude here, what you guys end up finding out after Vance and her crews come and kind of look over the ship and make some assessments. She tells you that she needs about 2 weeks to make repairs to your vessel, fit it with a new ram, make all the sort of repairs. They will paint it. They will make some adjustments. She'll have her carpenters kind of replace a few things, change things to kind of obfuscate the profile of the ship somewhat. She mimics Blackwell's sentiment, like that there is only so much that can be done. They can't rearrange the skeleton of the ship, and the masts and all that stuff. Like it's an Ignian built ship. It's very clearly of elvish design. So they'll do what they can, but they are, without completely tearing the thing down to its bones and basically building a new ship, which is the work of months, and more supply than they really have access to. There's a limit to what they're going to be able to pull off. But in terms of functionality, they can repair all of the cannon damage that you took. They can, they'll prepare the new sails to be put on when the others bring them back. They'll paint it. They'll do everything. They'll fix a new ram. And she does tell you that she will have one of her carpenters, should you guys want, she can have one of her carpenters carve a figurehead for your ship.
Oh, I was just gonna interject.
She
and
takes
ask
note of the
carpenter
corpse
to do something.
dangling
So
off
do
the
it.
front of the ship, and she's like, "We can."
That's just a temporary hood
She's like, "We
ornament.
can replace. Yeah, we can replace that."
The dealership.
Says, no, we can-
Also, do you have the means to paint her black?
She says, black dye for our paint. She says, I think we can probably scrounge up enough to accent the ship in black. I don't know that we have enough supply to paint the entire hull. Not to mention that we don't have a fully functioning dry dock to bring the ship up out of the water to paint the hull. And she says, but if black is your color, we can certainly make some arrangements.
Sounds good to me.
She says, very good. Give some thought. As I say, two weeks it should take us to make these repairs. I wouldn't wait more than a day or so to either make contact with myself or my carpenter and tell them what it is you'd like us to craft for a figurehead for you, so that they have enough time to finish it before you're ready to get underway again. Says, I'll be in touch if there are any problems. And without much further ado, she basically turns on her heel and just starts pointing at people on the dock and shouting at them, and within minutes there's a half dozen people come up onto the ship and start cutting away the pieces of railing that are partly blasted by cannon shrapnel. They start cutting that out. They start taking out deck planking that's been damaged or smashed, and start removing the bits of damage to the ship, and have immediately hopped to the repair of the vessel. The crew of the Shrike that came with you, they sort of just go ashore to go do whatever they're going to do until they wait for Thorn to come back. And the only one that really kind of sticks around and hangs back with you guys as you're sort of on the ship here is Tea Kettle, who sticks by you guys on the vessel here, and you now have about 2 weeks worth of time to kill, during which you are waiting for your ship to be repaired, and during which time you find yourself in possession of a ship, but as of right now without a crew. So you need to hire yourself some sailors. I think what we will do right now is we'll take a quick break. It's about 8:30. We did get a little bit of a late start, but it is about 8:30, so we're about halfway through our time slot. And I want to give these guys an opportunity to confer among each other quickly about how they want to approach their their kind of 2-week shore leave period here, and so that we can kind of come back and get the ball rolling right away. So we'll take about a 5-10 minute break right now, and return with the second half of our episode. I encourage you to take this time while you're waiting for more piratey goodness to come back to check out those sponsor links. Go look us up on YouTube, social media, and do the aforementioned smashing of like buttons and follow buttons until we return. So don't go anywhere. We will be back very shortly, and we will see you in a minute. Hello, welcome back. There's a distinctive chance that the sound is messed up. There was a 100% chance that the cameras are messed up because they didn't fix those before we went live. They've done it now. Welcome back. Everything's a disaster, but we here. We here for it. Yeah, I don't see Discord moving, so we need to fix that. Alright, there. I think that should be fixed. You guys should be able to be heard by the audience at this point. Welcome back. We have returned from outer space. We just walked in fine to here. That said, look upon your face. It's Delve Pirates. So, the crew of the Grimm's Folly have made their way back to the island of Glazau, where they have a 2-week shore leave, as the ship right here, the harbor master here in Glazau, Martyr Vance, is in the process of repairing their newly acquired vessel. At some point as well, the other pirate captains are due to return here with their bounty from salvaging the sunken Ignean fleet, as well as a set of enchanted sails that the crew has laid claim to. But they have some time that they need to kill now. Some time which they can use for pursuing their own interests here on Glazau, as well as to fill out the crew of their newly acquired ship. So I am going to step out of the way, and I turn it over to you guys. What's everybody doing? What do you want to do as a group? What are you doing individually? Have at it.
I would definitely be spending time with the twins, giving them more training lessons and kata forms to learn.
Okay.
Over the course of 2 weeks?
2 weeks.
Yeah, I would say I would actually schedule time in their day every day for maybe an hour or so.
Okay.
I'd probably be spending a lot of time in the captain's cabin, going through all the the stuff that's in there.
Okay.
As well as inventorying the rest of what's on board the ship.
Okay.
As someone
I guess...
curious to learn, I think Thyxes would probably help Captain a little bit until Captain got annoyed with him and then he would take a break when he needed to.
Hey Thyxes? Hey Thyxes?
Yes, Captain. Yes.
Go on land, out of my eyesight.
Why?
Had enough of you. You're bothering me.
Okay,
You're just hovering. You're just hovering, Thyxes.
But you haven't given me any instructions. I don't know what to do.
You've been standing over my shoulder going for 15 minutes.
I thought I was patiently waiting, Captain. I'm sorry.
Go scrub something.
I don't really need to do that. I mean, I have this thing where I just wave my finger and it just cleans.
No. You need to earn. You need to learn hard work. Go scrub something with your hands, not your fancy dancy magic. Take you and your squeaky pants and swab the deck.
Right away, Captain. Right away. Thanks. Leaves the captain's quarters.
Says go find conditioner for your squeaky pants.
Okay, Rowan, what were you gonna say?
Sorry, Rowan.
Completely forgot what I was gonna start with. Come back to me.
Scylla will go to the herbalist shop and pick up some incense stuff because I feel like that lady would have it. I don't know how much that would run me to just get I don't need a ton. I need 1 night's worth.
So, hang on.
Gross.
You do a little too much Captain Thorn voice, and you struggle for the rest of the evening. But I don't want to.
Oh, I thought you were spitting out gum. That's why I
No,
was
it's a
like,
lozenge
gross.
that I don't want to clack
Okay.
against my teeth into the microphone while I'm talking, because I care about audio quality and the listener. Thank you very much. Anyway, Scylla, you kind of head to that shop, and the herbalist there.
The older lady, the Firbolg lady.
Yeah, Thera. She, you come in and you kind of ask her for a few specific things, and she says, "And what is it that you're looking to do with this? This is more than you need for just yourself. Do you plan to take others?"
So you know the ritual.
She says, "I know these plants, yes."
I have already found my heart animal, and I know what guides me. But there are two that I know who have already proven themselves worthy of recognition by the folk and the old ways, who I find are lacking purpose. And I want to begin them on the path of awakening, whatever beast lies in their heart.
She considers, and she says, "There are many who would consider it quite the scandal to learn that you were sharing this with those not of our kind." And she gives you sort of like a wry smile, and she says, "Luckily I am not one such."
Well, that is good, and of course, I would argue that by the old and ancient ways of the folk, consorting with the speaker of the free peoples to bargain for land that is rightfully ours is also a scandal. I care little for what the folk who are not dedicated to the history of our people. I care little for what they think.
She says, "I am old, and I have spent many years away from such things. It is my lot to live my life and to do what I can do on a daily basis to carry out my years in peace. Says, I cannot speak to this direction that our people have chosen to go, and their following of the speaker. It is far from these shores, and it is beyond my care. But what I can say is that I know of the importance of learning one's path in life. And that if it is your goal to help others in this pursuit, that is something that I understand. Take what you need. You need not pay me for it." And she will give you the incense and the herbs that you need.
Damn.
Free of charge.
I will perform whatever is like a very formal thank you for her. I've always imagined that when Firbolgs are with themselves and they're like not like they don't use necessarily like words or names, like they might be doing like if they just have druidcraft and stuff, and because they can talk to animals, like the way that they like greet each other and recognize each other might involve like recreating birdsong or like maybe like making a little breeze that smells like a certain flower. So like probably something very like a big performance, like whatever the performance of a thank you would be for that is what Scylla will do. Yeah, and she was not expecting that, so she will just kind of like go.
you do this. You perform this thank you, this sort of elaborate sort of nonverbal and body language based gesture towards her, and she smiles and she walks over, very very close to you, mere inches apart, and she reaches up around like to the back of your head, and she just very gently sort of like with like her thumb and her middle finger, she just sort of pinches like the nape of your neck, the back of your neck, ever so slightly, in a gesture that you recognize as very reminiscent of the way that a mother bear or lion or anything of that nature might sort of scruff her cub and carry her young one. So she performs this gesture, which is very matronly in a sense, and she smiles, and without any other words, she just kind of pushes this parcel into your hands, and she says, "Now go and get out of here. You have many things to prepare, I assume. The full moon is no more than 5 or 6 days away."
I know. And I give her, probably the first time she's ever seen me, smile, and then I will turn and leave.
Alright, so you leave. Alright, so Scylla has some things to prepare. Scylla is working on that. We'll assume that she's preparing for that. Murderbeard, as you are taking stock, there is pretty much a full galley, a full stock of provisions that would feed a crew of about 40 people for about a month. It is it's a lot of dried fruit and like hardtack and like oat cakes and things like that. This being an elven vessel, there's a rather high percentage of especially elven individuals in the Ignean Empire that practice vegetarianism. So there's not really much meat on the ship, but a lot of their provisions are fairly nutritious, like substitutes that are fairly common within the Empire. So food is not really something that you have to worry about. The stores of like powder and cannonballs and stuff, aside from like the handful of shots that you guys took, are full. And you know from speaking with Vance that she is more than capable of replenishing what had been lost, or what you used to fully outfit the vessel before you leave. The captain's quarter itself is pretty Spartan in the approach that the Ignean captain of this vessel had taken. There was very little in the way of like personal effects in there. You find like an extra like naval officer's uniform in the hung up in there for that would be for a captain. It is sized for an elf, so it's not going to fit you, but you have that. There are a number of documents that were like in the captain's desk that as you kind of thumb through them, they are in Elven, so I don't know if you need. I don't think do you speak Elvish, Murderbeard? So you would.
I mean, Una speaks Elvish.
Una would speak Elvish, so yeah, if you bring them to her, she's able to sort of translate for you, or Rowan can, or I think a number of your people here do speak. Upon translation, you basically find that they're largely meaningless correspondence that don't seem to have any particular significance. You do, you do see the sort of some of the correspondence there did have to do with like the assembling of this small battle group, and the essentially the plan for this battle group had been to come here and either blockade Glasgow, and for as long as it took for the pirates to surrender, or should they have like decided to fight, to sort of blast their defenses away, remove whatever local leadership they found on the island, and then install an imperial magistrate as like the governance of the island in its place. There is not too much of any particular significance aside from like the standard effects that you might expect to find. The only thing that maybe piques your interest a little bit is that you do find in one of the correspondences, you do find a reference in a letter that had been sent to the captain of this vessel, a mention of a shipyard further north along the Empire's territory, and mention of progress coming along nicely at the work that is currently being done at this shipyard. There's not really further elaboration on that matter, as it seems like whatever the context of this is, it would have been apparent to this captain, so it's not spelled out in a way that gives you any indication of like what this might be. But that's like sort of the only real thing that piques your interest. Let's see, who else do we have? Nymue. You find that Kivo and Kenna, as well as, let me just switch over back to my other set of notes here, as well as Ogatumbe, who is caring for them, have taken up in the Iron Pony for the time being. There we go. So Una has set Kivo and Kenna up with a small room of their own, where they can stay. Ogatumbe is similarly staying there and is helping out around the tavern, in order to like pay their pay their way, and keep a roof above their head. You are able to set a regular time to meet with the pair, and you find that they are very good about like coming when they're supposed to come. You get the impression some days that Kivo would maybe prefer to like be off like playing or doing some other thing, and like he might be getting dragged along by his sister sometimes. But Kenna is like, without fail, she's there most of the time. Like when you arrive at their arranged meeting spot, she's already there. And she continues to tackle these katas and these training sessions with that same single-minded tenacity that she had displayed the first time you went through this. There is an iron in her that you recognize well from your own experiences with the training that you went through in your younger days. The two of them still have really no consensus on like what they want. Kivo continues to be kind of the opinion that like we should go where we were originally going to go, over to Mithlinde, to that village across the border, because our parents are probably waiting for us there. Kenna continues to believe that is a waste of time. Does not necessarily have a or is not forthcoming with a suggestion of like where she wants to go or what she wants to do, and your attempts to like prod any information about her out of like why she is so certain that her parents, their parents are like not going to be there waiting for them, is met with resistance. She refuses to talk about it.
All right.
For his part, Ogatumbe is you find out a little bit about him in sort of discussing some things with him. You find out that he was actually a slave in the Empire for a good portion of his life. He had been captured as a young man and sold into slavery there, and spent most of his youth and his life working in the household of a lesser noble near the city of Umouth Dorai. He had been sold when the house fell on hard times, and was on a boat bound for one of the larger islands out here in the Iolaquis archipelago. But that ship that he had been on wrecked, and he escaped to freedom and had been living in and around the islands, kind of just like wherever the wind took him for the last decade, until he was captured again, which is where you guys met him. He had been captured by the slavers and given to the crew of the Barjack. So his stance at this point is that he has no interest in ever going back to a life where he would be subservient to anyone again, but he has no roots anywhere that would draw him to one particular place, and he has taken a fondness to these two children and feels a protective streak over them. So his opinion is basically that like he's just gonna kind of stick around these two and make sure that like they're okay, and go wherever the wind might take the group of them. So that is sort of where things lie with that trio currently.
When I tell him I'm going to do this well out of earshot of the twins. When I tell him what the group of us have learned about the potential of them being sold by their parents, potentially, and give him the rundown on that, what is his opinion on what we should do for them? Because I believe at least the girls have made it clear that they should not go that way, because that seems a little sketch.
He's a little curious. He says, what is it that you are that is leading you to believe that their parents have sold them? He says the Givo does not seem to think this, and clearly something is bothering little Kenna, but she will not say what it is. But this is not out of the question, but I have not seen or heard anything that would convince me that this is the case. Why do you feel so certain about this?
Out of character, didn't we learn that the parents put them in a box?
Out of character, you learned when from the story from the children of like how they had ended up captured. They come from the Empire.
Yeah.
And they, as far as the story that they gave you, their parents were trying to get all of them out of the Empire, and they found someone who was going to like smuggle them across the border, but was not able to take all of them together. So as far as Kivo's version of events, the only way that they could get out of the Empire was for them to be split up, and like the kids were supposed to go with in this like caravan where they were put into like a box with a hidden compartment,
Right.
to be
That's
smuggled
what I'm
across the
remembering.
border. And then
Yes.
the parents were then supposed to like also be smuggled out and then meet them across the border in Mithlande where they would be reunited.
Gotcha.
Their
Okay.
caravan was attacked, and that is how they were like captured and then sent to the slavers that they then ended up on this ship. So as far as Kivo's version of events, like they're supposed to go meet their parents in this town, and Kenna is like, we're not doing that, like they're not there, we're not going, but she won't tell you like why she's so certain of that.
All right.
I think that was like a possibility, but we didn't necessarily have like evidence for it. The whole situation was just like sus.
Yeah. Okay, that's probably what I'm
Yeah,
remembering.
it was something.
think-
It was definitely something that you guys were like
That's weird.
suspicious of that.
It was Kenna's being like, oh heck no, that I think made us all kind of go, there's something with the parents that isn't great,
Right.
and that's why we kind of jumped.
Yeah,
Thank
that's
you.
it's a suspicion that you guys came to. It's not something that you have like
Right. No.
hard evidence of this.
Yeah,
being
and
the case yet.
Nymue would probably express it like it's not hard evidence, it's just the gut feeling we had, at least dealing with Kenna. She seems very adamant, and it would be good if we could get more information out of her, but something feels off, and so it does make me a little nervous.
He kind of nods. He says, "That is valid. I know from the children that Kivo still wishes to travel to Mithlinde to try and find their parents, but the two are loyal to each other. If she will not go, he will not go without her. So for now, they are in a stalemate.
Alright.
But it is hard to say.
Alright.
I have decided now that they will sort it out amongst themselves, or when Kenna feels ready to
Talk.
talk, she will talk. And until
I
then,
agree.
I will make sure that they are safe and happy as I can.
Good, we're on the same page then. So, I just ask that if she opens up to you, let me know, and vice versa if I hear anything more from Kenna in our training. You will be
Of
the
course.
first.
Yes, I will tell you.
Mom and Dad.
Okay, so we've kind of discussed Murderbeard a little bit. We've discussed Scylla, who we'll come back to. Discussed Nymue. Rowan and Thyxes, what are you guys up to? I know Thyxes, you had been sort of helping out around Murderbeard until he booted you out of there. Anything particular Thyxes is up to during this time?
Thyxes is out on the deck of the ship with his back towards the captain's quarters. And he's hunched over and he's pretending to swab the deck while he casts Prestidigitation as many times as possible. And he's just going around the deck, whistling and humming some sea shanties and just looking over his shoulder every once in a while and then doing his incantations with his orb and nice and sparkly. And then moving on to the next spot. That's all.
As you are doing this, there are a couple of times where like Murderbeard comes out of the cabin and goes back below, or goes down below to go. He's kind of inventorying. He's walking around checking things on the ship. And there are a couple of times. Hang on, Russ. Hey, go ahead. What's up, Russell?
Gonna
What's
say,
up?
may I make a perception check?
Make a perception check. Thyxes, make a performance check.
Really?
And I'm also gonna make a roll for a minute here. Okay.
Performance, huh? Hmm. Whoops.
Use a little dragon.
That stinks that went out of the thing because that was a nat 20. Okay. I rolled a. Do you want my number?
Yeah. What's your number?
I'm rolling a 16.
Okay.
I only rolled a 7.
Okay, so here's how this plays out, because I also made a roll here. So here's how this plays out. Murderbeard is kind of going about his business, and Murderbeard, you kind of go to like keep an eye on Thyxes, and at one point you walk, and you kind of see he's got his back to you, and he's like, he's down on his hands and knees, and he's doing the motions as if he's scrubbing, and you're like, is he really scrubbing the deck? Like,
What would you do with a drunken sailor? What would you do with a drunken sailor?
And undercut beneath his like kind of singing to himself, you hear like the sound of like a wire brush scrubbing against the deck. And you're like, okay, I guess he's really doing it. And you go in, and Thyxes, you hear this too. You're prestidigitating. You're like, what the heck? And you turn, and as like Murderbeard goes back into the captain's cabin and closes the door, from behind like a barrel and a pile of ropes, you just see like Tea Kettle pops out. Tea Kettle's like,
I don't say anything because I don't want anything repeated. I just go like this.
Murderbeard pokes like just his head out the door, and he's like,
I quickly, drunken sailor. Hey, Captain.
and Tea Kettle's like, starts coiling rope.
You know, this stuff isn't so hard. You know, the not using magic stuff to clean. I mean, look how far I've gotten already, Captain.
can I make an insight check?
Yeah, I guess.
That's only a 12. Oh man, I'm rolling.
The deck looks clean,
Tonight.
and you heard that brush, so I guess that's fine.
I'm watching you. And Murderbeard will come out with a mug, and Murderbeard will make dead eye contact with Thyxes and just go. And then go back to the captain's cabin.
Tea Kettle, did you just see that?
Tea Kettle like looks to you, looks to the spilled whatever Murderbeard dumped out. And Tea Kettle just looks at you and makes like an exasperated version of like the squeaking of your pants at you. Tea Kettle's just like,
yeah,
and she just shakes her head.
I'm gonna look at Tea Kettle and say, okay, don't tell the captain. And I'm gonna cast my cantrip shape water, and I'm gonna flick the water that he just dumped out onto the deck out of the boat.
Shoots over the side. Tea Kettle imitates from some source that you're not aware of. She imitates like this sort of like conspiratorial giggle. And then just like,
where'd you learn that? Okay, be careful with that. That's just creepy. And then I immediately just turn around and go back to work. Don't even wait for a response.
And she doesn't give one. She just sort of like then scampers off to go do something else somewhere. So last but not least, I think the only person we haven't really covered here is Rowan. What are you up to at this point?
Rowan would try to keep an eye on the Thyxes Murderbeard shenanigans until she gets fed up with their crap, and then would just kind of go walking around the island, just trying to get a feel for it, understand the layout of it better. She would probably stop in the blacksmith, just to look at the armor, knowing full well she does not have the coin for it, but just kind of like dreaming of better protection.
Sure, there is not much in the way, like, there's maybe a few pieces of, like, lighter armor. There's not much in the way, like, on display here. You can tell that this smith is, definitely, spending most of his time making things, like, appropriate for the town here and for, like, the shipwright. So he's making a lot of nails, a lot of, like, horseshoes, wagon axles, various things like that. There's not much in the way of, like, weaponry and armor. It's a little bit kind of, like, scattered in here. It looks like he does, like, have that skill set, but there's not much call for, like, chain and plate armor and things like that here. Most of the clientele that that come here obviously are inhabitants of Glass out here, or people that live and work on vessels and are not in the business of needing to kit themselves out in things that will drag them to the bottom of the sea and their death if they fall overboard.
Struggle is real. Is this out of character? Is this the shop owner you said was from Mithlinde?
In discussing, yes, I believe so. In discussing with him, I didn't write it specifically on here. Yes, but yes, so his name is Eda Salk. If you have a couple of conversations with him, you do learn that he's originally from Mithlinde. You do learn that he had been in his younger days. He had spent some time doing some smithing for the Home Guard, for the Mithlindian Home Guard. So he does know how to make weapons and do a little bit of armor smithing. But he moved off of the mainland out to the islands almost 20 years ago at this point, and has been kind of living out here since then.
Okay, Rowan will probably just go talk to him here and there when he's not looking super busy, just because his voice and just the things they could talk about of what they remember of home. And she'd be the whole time trying to gauge, like, where exactly he's from, sincerely doubting they're from the same area, but just kind of, like, intrigued because it's the first person from there that she's run across. And one day she'll be a little, not necessarily brave, but just kind of like testing the waters, and she'll put her family's signet ring back on her finger and see if he catches on to it or not.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, he tells you pretty openly in, like, one of your first conversations. He lets you know, like, he's originally from Turnier, which I'd have to go back and look, but I don't remember if that is the city that you are from. I don't think it is.
No, I'm Austin Vale.
Okay. So. Which is further south on the coast.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, he's originally from the city of Turnier, and he had spent some time outfitting for the Home Guard there in his youth, apprenticing under a smithy out of Turnier. He spent a little bit of time traveling with some expeditions that had, like, gone south, kind of, like, into Honorand a little bit, when a little bit of wanderlust had struck him before he had settled down and started a family and the like, opened his own smithy. But eventually his children kind of grew up a little bit. You find that one of them joined the Mithlindian Home Guard, and the other went off west to go and try their lot to fall in with the Ordinum Libri. He had a kind of a scholarly streak to him, and when his wife eventually passed away, having no children to carry on his forge and his trade there, he decided to uproot himself and bounced around a little, and then he ended up here. He does not appear to recognize your family's signet specifically, but if you start wearing it one day, he definitely he can definitely recognize it as the crest of a minor noble's household, from Mithlinde. But he probably wouldn't out and out ask you about it, as he seems like he would have the sense that if you hadn't been wearing it and then you sort of put it on, you're kind of a little shady on the subject almost. He probably would get the sense that it was maybe not something that you would want somebody prying into. So you do notice that he sees it and seems to recognize at least what it is, but he does not he doesn't really press you on it. But he's more than happy to he's not enormously busy. It's a very small town, so he's more than happy to shoot the shit with you whenever you show up. He tells you all this stuff about about his life and anything that you are willing to share with him. He's more than happy to listen and sort of comment on. But you definitely get the sense that being a resident of a place like this, he more than knows better than to push into people's pasts too much. As there's quite a lot of folks here are perhaps not keen on sharing those things with others.
Yeah, she'd probably just spend most of her time between there and just wandering around and checking in with her friends here and there. She's nothing really too specific that she can do here.
Okay.
Every day she'll do a quick little prayer moment, but beyond that, she's just kind of floating at the moment.
So I think... Ooh, I just extra zoomed in on Murderbeard. Let's get back to grid mode. I think what we'll do, based on the time that we have left here in tonight's episode, I think we will say that you guys have probably put the word out. All it would really take is a quick discussion with Una, which I'm sure would have been the case, as well as everybody who is in and around this town, seeing this new vessel show up and the shipwright and her workers getting to work on it. Very quickly, the news spreads around that there is a new vessel that will potentially be regularly making port here, and that they are going to need sailors. So word is definitely spreading around the island at this point, that there's going to be work for sailors. After about a week, the other pirate vessels do return, laden down with lumber, with powder, with cannon shot, with provisions, supplies, canvas, all manner of things that they managed to pilfer off of the wreckage of these Indian vessels. They deliver your set of sails to the shipwright, who goes about the business of removing the sails that are currently installed and putting in these new ones. And there is to be another conclave of the pirate captains along with Blackwell, before you guys are scheduled to leave the port. A conclave which you guys are all officially invited to this time, right out of the gate, as now Murderbeard and by proxy all of you guys are essentially, members of the sort of pirate consortium that calls this island their base of operations for the time being. But we will save, I think, that discussion and the process of kind of parsing through the potential sailors to bring aboard your ship for next week. And I think we'll use the duration of tonight's episode to say that we've reached about the halfway point of your guys' 2-week stay here. And the phase of the moon has shifted over from let me think back to my science. Waxing gibbous, maybe?
Just so you know, Matt, the cameras are a little shifted on stream.
Cameras are shifted on? I don't know why that would be. Let's fix that. Boom. Anyways, I think I'll look it up later. That might be wrong. Waxing gibbous, I think, is the one right before full moon.
It is. The gibbous is the chunky boy.
Chunky boy. So it shifts from a waxing gibbous to a full moon, and Scylla has been preparing something for some time now.
All right. So the day of, I will wake up early and basically wherever Rowan and Thyxes sleep or start their business for the day, I'm there. And I hand each of them a good berry, and I'm eat this and nothing else.
Thyxes would probably throw his new leather-bound book up in the air. Yes?
Nothing else.
Nothing else.
I will come to you when the moon is high. Rest as you see fit, but be ready. And I will leave. And I do the exact same thing to Rowan. So, the island, because, the lemon tree, the lemon thing that, the lemon thing that Murderbeard did, that was on, one of the little islands that's around, right?
So if you look at the map here on the screen, the skull and crossbones at the bottom of the map thing.
Yeah, it's its ear.
There's three little islets there. One is partially behind the skull, and then there's 3 moving further away from it. That smallest one further out is the island where Murderbeard told you that showed you the grave to his old mentor and captain Hotspur is, where you guys buried or planted the lemon tree.
Okay, and was that there were some little trees, but there was also maybe a clearing or a place where we could just look out on the sea and the moon?
Yeah, so it's it's partially created by mangrove. So it's there's some solid ground, but then it's sort of as opposed to just a little sandy island chunk, it's more there's sort of a partial little beach, there's a partial clearing of of a solid land, and then there's some sort of tangled mangrove pseudo swampiness that then leads off into the water. So you guys can certainly if you're looking for sort of a partially sheltered little clear area, you can certainly find that on this little spit of land.
Yeah, so I'm assuming we're all probably just sleeping on the ship. So
Thyxes would.
When it starts to get nighttime, the moon's about to be high, but we maybe have a couple hours, I am gonna go and wake up Thyxes and Rowan, and when they wake up, normally Scylla has little face paint and stuff on, but this time she really has the full blue, and it is very intense. Her face is all blackened and stuff, and she doesn't say anything, she other than up, follow, and if you guys talk and wake anyone else can come. The other two can come if they want, if they hear, but she's not necessarily concerned with them.
I'm going to follow this.
Well,
I was gonna say I will
Yeah.
'Cause
deliberately
I'm probably
like
up on the deck.
wake at least Nymue up.
Nimue's probably on the deck awake.
yeah, like I'll wake up the captain. I'll wake up the captain and just be like, we are going to do something. Follow if you wish. And again, that's like literally it. Like not mincing words.
Cryptic. I'm in.
Wait,
Okay, and then I'll go get a little rowboat that I would have like probably tried to secure before.
Rowan, do you have any idea what is happening?
No, you're the smart one, right? Like,
I've never.
Don't-
This has never happened to me. I don't know what is going on.
this.
Did you see her face?
Yeah,
think
that's the problem I'm
Taylor's
struggling with. I.
Like she's going all out.
Yeah, like.
what did you
I trust
do?
her.
I don't know. I'm trying to figure. Did we do something? I'm trying to figure this out.
As you guys are like back and forth, Scylla is like dragging this boat into the water, and like beginning to get in and get ready to shove off. You guys hear from behind you. You hear, "Follow if you wish," and like you turn and like there's Tea Kettle, and Tea Kettle's like.
Hey.
And she just goes right past you guys, still like, what are we doing? What are we doing? And just hops into the boat
All right, I'm gonna follow Tea Kettle.
and just sits there. And
Um,
Tea Kettle doesn't seem to have any idea what's going on, but Tea Kettle seems very excited at the prospect of like something is gonna happen.
I trust
I'll,
Tea Kettle. Tea Kettle has my back. I'm
Yeah.
getting in that boat.
I trust. I'll like grab Thyxes before we climb in. I'll go. I trust her, and I trust Tea Kettle's judgment. Just duck quickly if you have to. I don't know what's going on, and I'll just get in the boat because she's just
fight us.
Doug, quickly
just
if
so
I have
natural.
to. Have you seen me? I can't do that.
learn. That's what we're working on the rest of the time we're on shore. Your reflexes, and then like super cut to like later in the week. Rowan's just throwing crap at Thyxes' head, just making.
At that moment, Ronald would be like, "Think fast!" and throw a lemon at him.
Ah! It would probably hit me in the face.
It like spikes on one of his horns.
Scylla looks so annoyed with us. Rowan gets in the boat.
No, I was actually
Yes.
finishing typing something.
Oh god, we're all gonna die.
She's getting prepared. We're done.
guys,
We're done.
As you guys
Oh,
hop into
she's
the
got a
boat,
taste for meat.
she's got a taste for meat. You guys hop in the boat, and Scylla begins like powerfully sort of rowing you in this out in this direction. Tea Kettle like gets that grabs that lemon that had been like speared on Thyxes' thorn and like splits it into half, and then just sort of like absentmindedly just like
Oh.
kind of like pecks at it a little bit, and it's
I
sort of
promise it's clean. We're good.
like sort of like absentmindedly as Scylla is rowing, she's like kind of looking over the edge of the boat into the water and sort of like running a hand through and kind of absently like cycling through just like some kind of random noises to herself. So you guys hear like she sort of makes like a rope creak. She makes the sound of like you hear like thunk 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 of like a hammer being struck. Just like various sounds that probably she has heard over this week as like the crews of the shipwright have been like working on the vessel. She definitely like there's like some Thyxes pants thrown in there every now and again. You hear like
just a note to everybody or Matt that Thyxes is running through his mind. He's constantly reviewing everything he's ever said to Scylla, and every encounter we ever had to just look back and see if there was any moment where I needed to be a little bit more careful about my words or actions.
seeing if you can identify the moment in which Scylla decided to murder you.
Decided to murder me and bury me on a little island. Yes.
But yeah, I mean, Tea Kettle seems like just kind of happy to tag along with you guys, and is like.
He like pinpoints the moment where he accidentally flat tired her and was like, "Oh, that was probably it."
But yeah, it does not take long to row out to this island. So the scrape of the sandy bottom strikes the boat, and you guys pull up onto this island.
Yeah. So we will like, I'll hop out, push the boat up, into the sand, and just like get everyone following me. Until we're basically like on the farthest edge of the beach of this little island, looking out like on just like the open water. Like the moon is getting a lot higher in the sky. And it's kind of doing that thing where there's those like silver, like the little tips of the waves are like turning silver from the light, and it has like all of the shimmers. And I'll kind of like set down like a skin or like a cloth. Like if I have like a couple of them, like it probably would have come with the incense bundle, so I'll lay out 5 of them because we have Tea Kettle here. Tea Kettle's gonna get it too.
Okay.
And I basically grab Thyxes by the arm, and I stand him in front of this with like the mat and a little bit of incense and like different things on it so that he's like facing the water, and I like push him down to kneel. And then I go and do the same thing with Rowan, and I do it with Nymue and Murderbeard.
I go into Seiza, watching you do that to them.
Yeah, like I'll get Tea Kettle like kneeling in front of one of the mats too.
I'm probably gonna say this just loud enough for maybe Captain and Rowan to hear me, but be like, "What a beautiful scene to spend my last moments of life."
Thyxes.
Yes, Captain.
I just want you to know that if we die...
Oh no, are you giving me last words, Captain?
If we die, I want you to know that I know you use magic to clean the deck, you son of a bitch!
How'd you figure it out? Damn it. I just look back at the ocean, waiting for Scylla to stab me.
It was too clean!
You're damn it. Tea Kettle's like,
Be quiet.
Yes, ma'am.
And like she's very like serious in demeanor, but like looking at her, she does not look malicious. She just looks very serious about what is happening.
Mm-hmm.
And hold on, let me switch that over. Okay, there we go. So she'll kind of just like look at everyone one by one, but her gaze definitely lingers on Rowan and Thyxes. And kind of like switching back between the two of you mostly, she'll say, "What do you dream of at night? Are your visions in those dark, quiet places clear and focused? Or, as I would suspect, are you restless, anxious, clouded? From what little I've heard of you speaking of your own lives, it's as though you've never noticed the guiding light of fate, or perhaps," and she kind of turns from looking at Thyxes to looking at Rowan very pointedly, "you think you are jetsam, dead weight cast off so others may be buoyant. My people are ancient, and we moved as one with the beasts and the plants, long before your people cut into the breast of the Earth Mother who nourished all. She was cut with shovels, and road, and city, and war. And now, many of my people have forgotten their ways. But, some of us," and she'll kind of like put her hand on her chest, "still remember the ancient secrets. And one of those is the heart beast. Everyone has one, but most people have had their senses dulled by the trifling problems and noise of society. Decades ago, I embarked on a soul journey to discover my heart beast, which was my right as a beast walker of the folk. And after much meditation, out of the drowning darkness of my dreams came a strange song and a massive beast. I looked in awe upon the great whale as it sung the ancient songs. looked upon a beast I had never seen in arid Honorand. But it sang the secrets of creation to me, and I knew my path. This is the start of a quest for contact with your heart beast. And she will, as she's, like, saying this now, she'll go and, like, start prepping the incense and, like, getting it ready to burn. And she'll, like, hand everyone, like, a match or, like, a little tinder thing, because I have, like, a tinder box. You will drink deep the scent of the Earth Mother and bathe in the light of the moon. You let its light wash over you and guide you, as it guides the waves and the beasts of the sea and the sky. And you will listen for the song that is in you. And if you do this every night, maybe your heart beast will find you and guide you back to the light. And I will pull out a small dagger, and I'm gonna go to Thyxes first and say, give me your hand.
Thyxes pulls out his hand. A little reluctantly, but he pulls out his hand.
She takes the tip of the dagger and just pricks a little bit into your palm. And then when there's like a little drip of blood, she'll close her hand over your hand. So you kind of make a fist and it squeezes a drop of blood onto the incense. And it kind of like sizzles as it's burning. And she'll go and do the same thing with each person. Including Tico, because she's there! Now sit and be quiet and listen. And like I will basically just stand behind them and also just close my eyes and like listen to the waves and like any gulls. And I just want them to like meditate. And like the incense will kind of, it has like a very spicy, earthy scent, but there's something in this incense that I think would smell like, it would have that kind of low tide smell to it. Like there's something very like from the sea in it, just because of where we are located. And like, especially for the two who did not eat anything but a goodberry today, like the goodberry will sustain you, but like as you smell it, like I think it makes everyone, but particularly Rowan and Thyxes, like very lightheaded. And it's like a little bit disorienting, especially if you keep your eyes open, like it kind of makes everything go a little bit like wonky and you get a little bit dizzy.
Okay.
And that's it. I don't know what happens to them while they're doing that.
So here's what I think happens. I think Scylla guides you through this process. She did some preparation with some of you ahead of time. She conducts a few elements of this ritual, and she instructs you to sit and to quiet your mind, and in breathing in these incense to connect yourself, or rather you get the sense after a while, perhaps her words don't make sense to you at first, to what she's trying to convey, but I think perhaps after a while of sitting and breathing in these incense and trying to follow these instructions, you find your mind begin to unwind a little bit, and you find yourself slipping away from consciously thinking, what is she trying to show me? What am I supposed to learn here? What is the meaning of all of this? You find that slipping away, and you find your subconscious mind taking over. And I think you find that perhaps for some of you, it becomes clear that Scylla was not trying to tell you to connect to the living land beneath you, but she was telling you to open your eyes and your mind and your spirit to the connection that is already there, and that has always been there, and that a lifetime of lived experiences has deafened you to. And she speaks of part beasts. And I think perhaps that you feel in time, with enough practice at this and with enough repetition, perhaps the ability to listen to that bond, like any muscle, is something that you can exercise. I think you can feel something shifting inside. You know that something is there. But much like trying to hold a handful of water between your cupped fingers, it slips away from you. And eventually, as the incense burned down, you find that hours have passed. Much longer than it felt like. And I think that's a good place to end tonight, as you guys have an opportunity to sort of reflect on that and
Hell yeah.
see where that's going to take you. So, thank you guys for playing with me tonight. Thank you at home for joining me. We'll be back next week with the Fool's Errand, and then a week after that, here with this to see the Grimm's Folly bringing on their crew, and making a plan for what distant shores and adventures await them ahead, and where they are going to sail to next. So, once again, thank you to our sponsors, Little Dragon Corp and Cardboard Castle. And please do not forget, if you have not done so already, subscribe here on Twitch, follow us here on Twitch, smash that like button. Check us out, Proficiency Bonus, on YouTube. Find us on our social medias. Follow all of those things. I imagine some links are being dropped in the chat as we speak. So be sure to check those things out and stay up to date. Don't miss anything. We have all sorts of content that you can feast your eyes and your ears on. So thank you for joining us tonight. We will see you again next week. And, when you are taking your friends on their first foray into a vision quest, don't forget to bring some lubricant to oil up your one friend's extremely loud pants so that they don't distract the party from their meditations. And don't forget to add your proficiency bonus. We'll see you next week. Good night, everybody. Bye.
Very afraid of that.
Bye.